One of the coolest new endgame items brought out with the update was the weapon core system, bringing more powerful ways to modify your weapons outside of just weapon adjustments and module slots. Want to make your Enduring Legacy hit even harder? Well, you can pop in a weapon core for more crit damage and firearm attack and go to town. Wish your handgun let you grapple more often for faster movement? Well, it can do that too. Almost any stat in-game can be affected with this new system, so it's worth spending the time getting it up and running and understanding how it can affect your builds. In today's videos, we'll be discussing what weapon core unlocks are, where you'll need to farm to get the materials needed, and what weapons will be best to unlock first so that you don't waste your resources just like I did. If that all sounds good to you, kick back and let's start talking about materials. Alright, so Void Abyss Metal Fragments are going to be what's needed for cores to be unlocked or to be able to reroll your stats. In this case, we're going to need two brand new items, which are the Core Binder as well as the Core Particle Disruptor. Now, the Core Binder is worth 2,000 of these fragments right here, which is in quite a massive amount, especially seeing as how few you actually get from being able to get from the sources that exist in the game. But 2,000 will get you a Core Binder, which will then unlock that section for your weapon. Now, unfortunately, this ends up being like an energy activator where you only need to activate one on a weapon, so it's not like you need 5 to fully unlock this weapon or anything like that. So you just activate the one, this then unlocks all the slots that exist for that weapon, and then you can pretty much just start slotting in those items that you need to be able to boost up those stats. Now, in the case of the Core Particle Disruptor, this is an item that's going to help being able to re-roll those stats that you managed to get. So similar to like how you have the augments for your weapons, it's not a guarantee as to what you're going to get out of these, so therefore you do need this item to consistently keep re-rolling until you manage to get the rolls that you're after. Now, all of these items, all these Void Abyss Metal Fragments, can be found in two locations. These can be either be grabbed from the 400% that exist for the day, so in this case we have the Shelter and Quarantine Zone, but if you head yourself over to there and you then click into this screen right here, you can see if I swap to 400%, we have 20 Void Abyss Metal Fragments that drop for us if we manage to complete that mission. Now, to be fair, depending on the mission that you do go and do, this can take anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes. I know it could be done faster, I know it could be done slower than that, but 3 to 5 is a good kind of like roundabout kind of mark to be able to base this on, and in which case you will need a 100 completed runs to be able to get the 2,000 that you need to do one single weapon, and obviously that is a heck of a long time. That's anywhere between 3 to 500 minutes, so the best part of, what, 5 hours or more, just purely by dedicating to 400% runs. It's kind of a bit daft, to be fair, to be able to just do one weapon that way. Now, fortunately, there is one other way that you can do this, and that's by farming the Abyss Fights or the Abyss Colossus that exist in the game. So this will either be Infernal Walker or Defiler as it currently stands. These do go on rotation. Currently it's Defiler, which fortunately you can get a Defiler kill anywhere between 30 to 40 seconds if you manage to follow my build guide. You can get faster, but the most reliable way is by having a little bit of extra HP. So depending on the kind of build that you do go for, the Defiler is going to be the best way of being able to grab these Abyss Metal Fragments that currently exist in the game right now. Now, unfortunately, that means you can get anywhere between 50 to 75 on a good kind of run to be able to do that. So it's still going to take you a long amount of time. It's not like it's a simple thing that you can just, within like 10 minutes, you manage to get the materials you need. This is still going to take you the best part of an hour to an hour and a half to be able to start getting that. But like I said, it just unlocks it for that one gun, and you're going to be wanting those tickets anyway to be able to get the cosmetics behind Defiler. Now, there is one other type of material that you do need to be able to grab hold of, and these are going to be the augmentation cores. These are going to be found within the brand new Purge run, so therefore if you manage to do the Void Erosion Purge, the further you get through these kind of like tower kind of activity, so you go from level 1 all the way up to level 20, depending on what kind of level you manage to get to, will affect the rewards that you manage to get. So in this case, if you start at level 1, you manage to complete it, you will be guaranteed these drops that exist right here, so that's going to be 2 of every single core, and those are both going to be level 2. Now, these come in 6 different types. These come with Firepower, Attribute, Hit, Tactical, Precision, and Special. They all do different things, which we'll talk about in the next screen over, but just know they also come in 7 different levels of power, with 1 being the weakest and 7 being the strongest that is currently available, and that can be found over on the level 20 level. The reason why you won't see it on this screen here is because these are the guaranteed drops. There is a guarantee for level 7, at least in my testing with the current runs. Once you manage to kill the boss that exists at the end of the level, so you've managed to complete a run, you will be guaranteed a level 7 type drop. You'll get 5 of this specific type of augmentation core. So the reason why it's not shown there is because it changes in terms of colour. You can get 5 of firepower, you can get 5 attribute, etc, etc, but it will only be of one type. You will get other drops as well as you start killing the enemies in that level, so if you are after the highest amount of firepower increase that you can get from this system, level 20 is where it's going to be. And if you need a build to be able to help you get to that level, or if you need something that can help you out inside of farming that level to do it within a 3-minute or 3.5 minute kind of timescale, then I do have an Inez Rhea build that currently exists on the channel, and I highly recommend that you go and use that because she is fantastic to be able to use in this content. Now, if you're looking for the section where you can interact with the core menu, then you're going to need to be able to speak with Descendant. Descendant can be found by the weapon bench, can be found by the laboratory section, by the research, everything like that. And you just need to be able to talk with him, and you have these brand new options called Equip Core. If you click on this section, you will be then presented with the screen of all the weapons that you currently have equipped, which will be your unique ones, which are the only ones you could do. So you cannot do this for purple weapons currently. So for all your ultimate weapons, you can see here. Now, we do have 2 different types, as you can currently see. Anything that doesn't have a blue border is going to be needing a core unlocking material to be able to actually get access to these slots. And then if you have a blue border, as you can see with a couple of weapons I have here, you can see I've already got those unlocked, and that will then bring you to this screen so you can mess about with the selections you have on offer there. So let's start talking about one that you don't currently have unlocked. So let's have a look, for example, at the Last Dagger. So if I click over to here, you can see that unfortunately I do not have the materials to unlock it, but I do need it to be level 100, and I also need access to a core binder. If I do have that in my inventory, I can hold down on unlock core. That will then take me to the other screen to be able to then start messing about with these slots here. Now, these slots are very, very important because this will tell you what you can actually put into the gun. For example, orange will tell you that it's a firepower augmentation, and the only things that I can get from those rolls will either be an increase to firearm attack or bonus firearm attack versus Colossus. In the case of green, this will be tactical, and this will be attribute status to effect trigger rate, rounds per magazine, fire rate, and reload time modifier. Now, the things that are in the brackets, those are across everything from power 1 to power 7, so depending on the type of mod that you go and put in there will actually tell you what this is going to be. Now, the really interesting one is going to be this one here, which is this colour, which is the free augmentation. So if you have a blue/orange kind of side kind of mod here, that means you can equip any core that you want to be able to do. That means you can put in extra firepower, you can go for rate of fire, you can go for critical damage, things like that. Anything that these kind of like categories already consist of, you can put in here and you can add an extra one to it. So to give you an example of what I currently mean, you can see that if we have a look at the Smithereens, I have a free augmentation which I've managed to slot in one of these orange ones, which is then going to give the firepower augmentation, and this gives me either firearm attack or Colossus attack. It's the same with this one, firearm attack or Colossus attack, so I've managed to double up on my firearm attack or bonuses here by being able to go for 2 there. Now, I do have 2 slotted in for yellow, which is going to be our precision augmentations. You can see the categories that exist on here. To give you another idea, if you do go to select a core that exists on your right hand side, so if you have all the access here, you can see that the brackets on the left hand side do change as you manage to click your way through. So in the case of power 7, it's going to give me the strongest amount, whereas if I click power 1, it's going to give me a tiny amount. It makes more sense to wait until you've managed to get access to level 7 to start doing this, because it gets real expensive with the particle disruptors if you are going to be swapping back and forth between stats. So let's quickly talk about what are the best weapons that you should be unlocking first. This is going to be ones because you do get one for free just from completing a very small side quest as soon as you manage to boot up from the update. And there is no better place for us to be able to talk about to start from than the Enduring Legacy. Now, this obviously is a fantastic weapon to be able to be used. This is going to be primarily used for single target firepower, kind of like Descendants that exist in the game. If you ever go into a Colossus fight, you will primarily be seeing people running Enduring Legacy because of how fantastic it is. It just really does chunk out a massive amount of damage. Now, the best kind of rolls here, because we do have these 4 that are kind of stuck. Purple is a bit of a waste. It doesn't really do much for us because the only time this is going to do something is if we have an extra roll into our 4 attributes. So we actually have a roll into Order of Truth, which we do not have. You will never pretty much have on any of your weapons, so it's not worth going for that. But we do have 2 into Recall, which is going to help us out with the Enduring Legacy, being able to control the amount of like spread that we get from the gun. We have a roll into Critical Hit Damage. It's going to help us out with the DPS. And then lastly, the free augmentation. I decided to go for one of the firepower ones, which is then going to help us out with this bonus firearm attack versus versus Colossus. Now the reason why this is fantastic is because if I click into and show you my attribute stats, I do have that bonus firearm attack versus Colossus. Being able to get a 280% bonus on top of that is just going to really kind of crank out the more DPS that I do have for this gun. Now one thing to note is that if you do not have bonus firearm attack versus Colossus already as one of your attributes, this roll will do absolutely nothing. So therefore, if you don't have that on any of your guns, not just the Enduring Legacy but any of them, it's better to go for firearm attack instead of being able to go for this attribute right here. Moving over to another gun that I do recommend is going to be the Smithereens. The Smithereens is already a fantastic shotgun. You've already seen the stats I've gone for here, but just to explain the couple of choices, firearm attack is really going to help us out by increasing the amount of damage our pellets are going to do. Obviously, Smithereens has a way of being able to increase the amount of pellets it can chuck out as well, which is fantastic. Aim shot accuracy is really going to help us for real-life fighters by narrowing the amount of spread that we have, so it makes us much easier for being able to land every single one of our pellets on that weak point. One, it's going to increase the amount of damage because we're hitting weak point. Two, it's going to be getting us to 10 stacks really easy, and then that's going to guarantee us our extra firearm attack from that mod as well. So if you were going to go for one of those two guns, these are probably one of the best kind of like boss killers that pretty much exist out there right now. I do think these are pretty much the best ways to be able to start grinding for your guns. Now we do have a few more other options that I haven't currently got, well, not necessarily already unlocked, but Thunder Cage is also a fantastic mobbing gun. It does have some really good rolls as well because it doesn't have that purple mod slot to be able to go into, which makes it a bit of a waste. So we do have a precision that's going to help us with things like accuracy and recoil. We have a green, which is going to be helping us out with rounds per magazine, just to be able to keep ourselves topped up so we can fire this for much longer. We do also have our red mod, so we can go into even more critical hit damage or even critical hit rate if you prefer, just to be able to help us out with consistency side. Orange is going to be helping us with firearm attack, which firearm attack then goes into the intrinsic value of the actual weapon, so it helps out with the shockwaves that happens afterwards. And lastly, we have a free augmentation to go into one of these two. I think is probably going to be best to either get increasing the amount of damage the shockwave is going to do, or helping us out with critical hit damage. If you are looking to be able to run the Purge side of things, or if you're looking to do vessel runs, there is no better weapon to have currently equipped than the Voltia. The Voltia I've just managed to get unlocked and to be able to go for it. I think this is a fantastic way. The only thing that I want to be able to change currently is my green to be able to get myself some magazine size. But going into extra damage into firearm attack is not only going to help increase the amount of lethality that the Voltia has, it's also going to help with the beams that come off it as well, so that's fantastic. Going into electric attack is also a great thing because the Voltia is now partly treated as electric attack, so it's going to get extra damage for partially what it does, but also we have gone into a build with the Voltia. If you've already seen that on the channel, you will see that we have built into electric attack already, so this is going to help us out with even more damage there. And then lastly, like I said, magazine size would have been nice. Reload time's still not bad, but magazine is definitely going to be the better one to go into here, but that's essentially my build that I'm going to have for the Voltia. And then lastly, I just wanted to talk about kind of like a dark horse, one that I'm kind of thinking will be really going to good once I manage to get this unlocked. I think this is going to be the next one I'm going to do, and this is going to be the Albion Cavalry gun. Now the reason why I want to talk about this one is because the rolls that we do have here, the stats, are fantastic. I think this gun probably got the best kind of like slots to exist for one single core unlock, and the reason why is because we have 2 free augmentations, so we can go into anything that we kind of want to with this gun, so we're already off to a fantastic start. So if you want more firearm attack, feel free. If you want to go into more element attack, if you want to go into more crit rate or something like that, this pretty much exists here, so you can be very flexible with this gun. On top of that, we have an attribute augmentation. Because this gun has now become partly chill, we can then go and aim for chill attack with this weapon, so we can do even more damage. We then have hit augmentation, which is going to help us out with critical hit damage as well. And then lastly, we have a tactical, which is going to help us with rounds per magazine, or additionally we could go for fire rate. Either one is still a great kind of shout to go for, but yeah, Albion Cavalry gun has got the best mod slots as far as I can tell across the whole of the ultimates, and I think it's really going to be worthwhile to be able to go into a mobbing build with this. I already have a couple of plans as to what I want to do with this, and I'm hoping that's going to be a future video on the channel. So we talked about weapons that we can go into. Let's start talking about a couple of weapons that are going to be a bit of a trap that you probably should be avoiding. The main ones are going to be one that I already have done, and that's going to be Perforator. The reason why you want to avoid Perforator is, one, it sounds fantastic to be able to get 3 rounds per magazine rolls into this, thinking that you're going to get anywhere upwards of 220-230% increase to your magazine size. It does work for the gun because you can get 25 rounds into your Perforator, which is hilarious, but unfortunately it does not transfer across into skills. That means that if you do use Perforator on Haley, you're not going to be seeing a benefit of all these extra rounds per magazine carried over to Zenith. So you will only have up to 8 shots on Zenith. You will not have any extra from these extra rolls right here, so it makes sense to actually build it for the gun rather than go for skills. This is the same across the board for everything. It means like rate of fire, anything along those kind of lines, it's not going to transfer over. So if you are trying to find a gun that you can think, oh, I'm going to cheat this into one of my skill builds, unfortunately that doesn't work. So Perforator is a class example as to one that you could potentially fall into. Blue Beetle is another one. You don't want to be able to build into that because it's not a very good actual shooting gun, so therefore I wouldn't recommend going into Blue Beetle for that. You just primarily use it as a stat stick, and it's the exact same for Secret Garden. Now, Secret Garden you can get away with doing a bit of damage with, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but if you are looking to use it to combine with like Freyna's skill 4, for example, none of the bonuses are going to transfer over, so rate of fire, magazine size, anything like that, it's just not worth it. So you're better off actually putting it into a gun that you're actually going to benefit from, so you're going to benefit from shooting, rather than actually using it as a stat stick. So let's say you want to be able to go through the process of unlocking a brand new weapon. So you're doing the core unlocking to be able to get it access to its modules. Well, in this case, let's start talking about the Voltia. I'm going to unlock it right here. The best thing you need to be able to do is a core binder, as well as the weapon being level 100. Once you've managed to get those sections, you'll then be able to select the button in the bottom right. Holding that down will then gain you access to this screen. From here, you can then start messing about with the modules. You can see I have a firepower augmentation, which allows me to be able to choose between firearm attack and bonus firearm attack versus Colossus. But I have the exact same thing for attribute, tactical, special, and also that free choice when it comes to free augmentation. Now on the right hand side you can choose from the cores that you do have access to in your inventory. Once you've managed to then choose one, you can then click equip core, and this will then bring up the roll in front of you. As you can see, I've got my firearm attack level 7 and it's got 33%, but I can do the exact same thing for attribute, tactical and special and free. And the first time you activate one of these cores, it will be a completely free thing, so you do not need any of the extra resource to be able to roll. You just need the augmentation core to be able to go in, and then it will start pulling back those things. Once you then need to be able to start re-rolling, you get the wrong thing, like I just got chill attack for my Voltia. I will then need to be able to re-roll with the extra side of things with the star, and then once I've been able to do that, it will do the exact same thing for me. Now let's say you need to be able to re-roll one of these and you didn't get the thing that you were expecting, like for example this bonus firearm attack versus Colossus that I've got for my Voltia. Well, you can see the extra resources on the bottom right. Being able to equip my core, just hold that down and it will bring up this screen instead, allowing me to be able to choose between if I want to keep my old roll or if I want this brand new roll that's been given to me. And then I have the option to be able to choose between keeping or being able to confirm. If I click confirm, this will then replace it. If I click keep, it will just do it as if nothing happened, but it will still consume the resources. But there you go, that's my brand new build for the Voltia all done and dusted. I'm quite happy with the rolls I've managed to get there. I think they'll be absolutely fine for being able to crack shields, but it might even be decent enough to be able to use as a mobbing thing, especially in some of like the earlier content for like 250s or maybe even 400s. And with all that out of the way, that wraps it up on the video on weapon core unlocking, how to obtain the materials, and what weapons are worth doing first. I do like the system, feeling like it's an endgame method in place, rewarding those wanting to spend time and maximise their weapon DPS. While this still won't make some weapons usable, it should bring up their viability for weapon descendants, especially with how strong skill-based ones are getting nowadays. But this is the section I want to hear from you. How are you finding Season 2 so far? Which weapon did you unlock first with your free core? And lastly, do you think it is a miss for core upgrades to not affect unique weapons? Let me know all of that and more down below. Massive thank you for making your way to the end of the video, and as I always say, keep yourself safe, keep yourselves well, and I'll see you all on our next video.